Well, today will have been one of mixed emotions for the residents of Stourbridge going back to their properties. They've been allowed in dribs and drabs, depending on whether their properties are safe to look at or safe to even go anywhere near. Those properties that aren't quite as safe, the owners will be accompanied by members of the emergency services, the fire service, just to make sure that they are kept safe. But for some, they'll be finding that their homes are untouched. Others will be finding varying levels of damage, right up to the fact that their home might be completely destroyed. Of course, people were evacuated on Thursday. They've been out of their homes for a while. One of the people who was evacuated is the Bishop of Dudley, Martin Gorick. That's why we're here at St Saviour's Church.
Indeed, yeah.
So you were evacuated. What was it like? It must have been pretty scary.
It was actually, Fraser. It was very unexpected. You know, we'd had a field fire before, maybe a couple of fields away, and that had finished and just stayed in the grass. So this one, you see all the smoke, but you think, oh, is it just in inverted commas, one of those? But then it really got going faster. You could see it heading towards houses, which is where the damage has been massively done, and around Racecourse Lane. But then the wind changes and it starts coming your way. And there's my wife, luckily. You know, I was hosing down the fence, hosing down the sort of shrubbery on the road, you know, just trying to slow it down if the sparks came. But you could see the big flames. I mean, they were higher than houses. You know, the sort of explosions going off in houses, I guess, or trees, you know, exploding. That's when you can hear that crackle. Is horrifying. And suddenly all the neighbours, it was time to go. And a fire person came and said, you've got to go. And my wife just grabbed a couple of carrier bags and that was it.
I mean, you can see how indiscriminate and unpredictable the fire was, because there are properties standing seemingly totally untouched in between two properties that are completely destroyed. So there seems no rhyme or reason to how the flame has spread. Those blustery winds will obviously have been playing a major part in that. But clearly some people today will be going home to see their lives in ruins.
Yeah, I've been with some people ever since it happened. Yeah, I was evacuated myself, but our house is safe and good as far as we can tell. But I've definitely been with people, you know, who've lost absolutely everything, Fraser. The house razed to the ground, you know, in a matter of, you know, about an hour really from them going to the house going. So they're beginning to discover that the realities now and visit the properties. There's a kind of red, amber, gold, so red, amber, green. So green is basically okay, safe to live in. Yellow, there's amber, you've got issues, and then red is really, you're never going to live in that house. And it'll have to be completely rebuilt. So you can imagine just the levels of grief. Everyone takes grief differently. Shock hits everyone in different ways. But the church, I'm glad to say, is one of the groups. They're very much there to support. And Hagley Church here behind me, one of the local ones, you know, it's half a mile from the epicentre really of all that went on. Pedmore Church the same. Stourbridge Church were like doing bedding and everything on the very night of the fires. So they've been fantastic really. And the thing with the church, we're here for keeps. So after all the attention has died down and gone, the trauma won't be ending really for many, many people. Clearly, and we're here to support.
Clearly, shock and trauma affect people in different ways. There were people who were putting a brave face on it initially. Now, after a couple of days, the reality is sinking in, isn't it? And it's becoming much more difficult for people to comprehend what's happened and how their lives have changed.
Yeah. Initially, I think there's the relief you've survived, you've lived. Because when you're that close to a fire that powerful, you realise it's touch and go. That's why you're being got out quite brutally sometimes for your life, you know. And but then the dust settles and it's kind of, life's never going to be the same again. And even if your house has survived, you know, if everything is wreckage around it and destroyed, in a way, the environment where you've lived, you know, the greenery, everything else. I mean, I love bird watching, you know. You could hardly hear a bird this morning, you know, I was back in my house. Where have they gone, you know? Just little things like that. You realise the environment has changed and it will take a long time to recover.
That's right. I mean, it's going to have a huge impact on those people who sadly lost their homes completely. For others, it's going to be a long time getting their house back in shape again. Some, luckily, like yourself, will have gone home to find that the house is undamaged. And it's that varying stages of understanding what's gone on with other members of your own community, isn't it?
And you feel that relief for myself, my immediate neighbours. There's a relief to see each other again. But, you know, you meet their children, you know, they've watched these fires ripping through houses and being bundled out. You know, that stays with you as a child sometimes, that level of worry. And you realise what feels very safe, you know, like most people's houses, you think, oh, that's pretty safe. You know, if people, sadly, sometimes starting fires deliberately, you know, if anyone's thinking of that, please don't, because, you know, it could be your grandmother, your mother, you know, your brother who is caught up in this tragedy and could be losing their lives. So anyone who's even throwing cigarettes out of car windows at the moment on the way home, you know, that can start a fire of epic proportions without anyone thinking about it. It's so dry out there. So, you know, do heed those warnings. Don't think this is just the government going nuts. You know, don't have barbecues, don't have fires outside, don't have a bonfire in your garden to get rid of dry leaves. You know, these are all massive hazards. But what I'm really glad about, and I'd love to say to you, is the community here in Stourbridge and in the Black Country is a great community, really strong. They have a big heart for each other. They really turn out to help each other as they have here. And that's all parts of the community, Christian, Muslim, Hindu, Sikh, people of no faith. They're all turning out to volunteer and provide what was needed right at the beginning of all this.
That's fantastic. I mean, heartwarming actions in the most difficult of times. Thank you so much for talking to us. I know you're back in your house, but you've got a lot of your neighbours and other people in the community with an awful lot of work to do. So I'll let you crack on with that. And in the meantime, of course, West Midlands Fire Service are asking people to be especially careful during this prolonged spell of dry weather. Still no significant rain forecast for the next few days. The ground all around here still tinder dry as it is in many parts of the country, and the advice is don't do anything that may well put even more stress on fire services which are already stretched to the absolute limit.